Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Zero to Empire podcast. On this episode, I have Jerry Snider. He's the executive coach for Unlock Leaders, and he has one of the craziest stories yet so far on the podcast, hiking from the Appalachian Mountains to over 30 years in the corporate world. So you don't want to miss out on this episode today. It's going to be a lot of fun, and thanks so much, Jerry, for being on this episode. And so, what actually led you to spend 30 years in corporate before actually walking away? Like, what actually made you leave it all behind?
Well, first, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. But it's a great question. You spend 30 years in any industry, it can grind on you. I was in the auto industry, which was marked by highs and lows. And, my wife got a great job. My kids got off my balance sheet. And I was kind of sick of what I was doing. And I'm like, I'm out. I made a deal with the company and kind of let everyone know I was going to hike the Appalachian Trail. And first, they all thought I was retiring. I was 51, like I'm retiring. And then they're like, well, why are you going to go hike the Appalachian Trail? Most people didn't know what it was. 2,200 miles, takes 6 months. But for me, it was probably just I had no one to answer to. My bills were paid, my kids were gone, my wife was doing great. And I said, well, this is for me. And so I just kind of dumped out, quit my job. All my friends thought I was completely nuts. And yeah, jumped on the trail in February of 23.
That's solid. That's quite the story. And so, we talked about how you actually spent 6 months on the Appalachian Trail. So, what did that actually teach you about yourself, life, and coaching itself?
That's a good question. So I had hiked for several years after our kids started, leaving for college and stuff. My wife and I needed something to do together. And so we hiked. And what I realized that I enjoyed being outside and I enjoyed the physical and I would even say sort of emotional challenge. And once you jump on the trail, um, it's really hard to explain to people. You have to go into the trail believing you live there. And because if you don't, you're going to be yearning for home. And so to be successful, you have to believe I live on this trail. And so, 160 plus days, I built up that resiliency muscle. I came to terms with the fact that I really don't want to work for someone else anymore. And I wanted to kind of do something for me. And I remember to realize that I really enjoyed the mentoring thing. The last 10 years at work, I was mentoring young people. I'd mentor peers. And I'm like, holy cow, can I do this? Can I turn this into something? And when I got back, I interviewed for some jobs with fancy titles, spent a little bit of time trying to figure out if I want to become an adjunct professor, and then kind of fell into this coaching thing. And honestly, every time I do it, it fills my soul, right? I see how people react and I see what they get out of it. And I'm like, oh, this is so much better than a paycheck. And it just is something that I am like, this is kind of what I want to do. And I really don't want to retire in a traditional way. I want to continue to work as long as I can. And coaching allows me to do that. And it helps me or puts me in a position to help other people with my experience. And I love that. It's been great.
That's solid. And I'm happy to hear that you're making impact on those that are working with you. So,
Yeah.
who are the ones that are actually your ideal clients that you work with today, and like what makes them a good fit for you?
It's a great question. That's a typical coaching question. Find your ideal clients. I realized probably 6 months ago, my ideal client is me. And I don't mean that I want to be arrogant and spend time with myself, but the reality is the ideal client is someone who's reflective, who wants to improve, who's willing to sort of stand in that proverbial mirror and question themselves. And they're brave enough to face some of those ugly things. And for me, in business, C-suite, executive leaders, high potential people, kids coming out of college, I'll coach anybody if I can help them. If I feel like I can help them and we're a good match, I will coach anybody.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
And can you actually tell us the story of a client transformation or breakthrough that actually made an impact on you?
Oh, yeah. There's a client that I came to, and this client was in an executive position, was brought to me because of an issue at work that this person had never had before. And we started working together. And I remember the moment where you sort of get that realization that, oh, geez, it's me. It's not them. It's, oh, man. And she basically, it was like that big aha moment, and started to realize that leadership isn't about telling everybody what to do. It is about helping people be their best and do their best, empathizing with them, leading from behind. I have a saying I say all the time, which is leaders are people that other people follow of their own free will, not because they have a fancy title or they're the boss. You'll do what you're told, but the reality is leaders that people are people leaders are people that other people follow, and they get to make that choice. And so you can inspire people, you can communicate properly, you can give them a vision, and people go, oh yeah, I want to follow that person. And I could see that client finally get that realization. It's not about me telling him what to do and being the smartest, most amazing person. It really is about being that person that someone else wants to follow. And she finally got it. And it was just, I could have flown to the moon with my arms. It was just a great day for me as well. So it was cool.
I love that. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you're able to make that impact on her and also make you happy as well, because it's nice to have that feeling.
It is the thing that keeps me going back. At times I have friends who go, I've got a job. Would you be interested in going back and make, more money and fancy titles and stuff? And I'm like, no way. I wouldn't replace it for that moment. And the reality is contributing to someone else's success has really been a lot more rewarding than I had anticipated. And I don't want to give that up.
Yeah, definitely. That's a feeling you can't really describe. But
yeah.
In terms of your coaching style, what does that actually look like?
So, for me, you meet with a prospective client, and the idea is you hope to come up with, why are you there? What are you looking for? And maybe establish some goals, and each client and each situation is so different. But what I bring is I'm a very honest person. I'm fairly direct and probably reckless and fearless because I went on the Appalachian Trail, but I'm not afraid to ask the tough question. And I'm still compassionate enough to be supportive and help the client whatever direction they want to go into. So, where other people other coaches may not have that sort of executive background that I do, I've been in that room. I know what you're going through, and I understand the questions to ask you to help you find the answers that's already inside you. But I don't back down. I'm pretty direct, and I want to make sure that the person has the ability to face themselves and the challenges that that they're undergoing.
Yeah, definitely got to face the problems, or else you're not really going to grow.
It's true.
And what kind of advice would you give someone feeling stuck in their career but are scared to actually change anything?
Oh gosh, the first thing I would say is really get intentional about what you value in your life. Because the reality is sometimes you're wondering why you're working or why you're doing what you're doing, and don't really know what you value. And what I mean by that is, I have a fancy car, but do you value that, or you're doing it because someone else values it? And once you sort of figure out what you value, I think it actually kind of gets a lot easier to say, I can pivot. I can downsize if needed. I can make a change if needed. But if you're living life influenced by the environment, social media, friends, and whatever, really turn inward and understand what you value. And then I think it will lead you towards the career pivot that makes the most sense for you to help you live the life you want to.
Oh yes, definitely gonna live a more of a aligned life with yourself that leads to a happier one. That's the goal, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
And what's the impact you want to leave in this world through coaching?
Someone asked me a question, what's your legacy? Which is somewhat similar. And I'm like, I told her this story. I said, those weird benches in the park where they have that little silver plaque with, John Smith, blah, blah, blah. And then the date that, their life. And I'm like, okay, what would go on that? And I said, you know what? This guy dedicated his life to helping others and make a difference. And I thought, okay, I can live with that. That would be a great little plaque on some weird bench in the middle of a park that would have my name on it. I'd be super happy with that.
Nice, leaving your footprint on the bench, and that's great to hear.
Yeah, for sure.
And exactly. And where can actually those interested in your coaching find and reach out to you by?
Well, you can hit my website, which is www.unlockleaders.com, or just simply Jerry Snider, Jerry.Snider at unlockleaders.com. And I'm more than happy to set up some time and talk to people about what their challenges are and see if I can help them, which would be great.
Yeah, that's great. Make sure to go check out Jerry, get in contact with him, and thanks so much for being on the episode as well. And I'll see everyone in the next episode of Zero to Empire.
My pleasure. Thank you.